you ran for 15 months with no Secret Service protection at all. You were denied that by the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Trump, during the convention in Milwaukee last month, noted that in public. They immediately, under pressure, responded and gave you Secret Service protection.
Yes.
Now they've withdrawn it. You're without it again.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Meanwhile, Tony Fauci has it. He's not a federal employee anymore. I think Mike Pompeo has Secret Service protection, former CIA director. But you don't. How is that?
I think I'm technically still running for president. I'm running for president in 40 states. So I'm not, I did not terminate my campaign. Did you know this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So, I'm running in there's 10 states where I heard President Trump, and they're battleground states. So I've taken my name off the ballot in those 10 states. But in the blue states, all red states, I'm on the ballot. And I could technically win a contingency election if the other two vote, if the other two get 269 apiece. And then Congress cannot work out a compromise, which is entirely possible. They have to go to the third vote getter, which would be me. And that's why I left my name on the ballot in those states. And so, that's highly unlikely to happen, but it has happened twice before in American history. And actually, in our polling now shows them at exactly 269 to 269. So it is possible that it would happen in this campaign. We worked this out with the Trump campaign. They only wanted us off in 10 states because that's the states we heard them. In the other states, people can vote for me, and they're not going to hurt their candidate. They can vote for me even if they like Vice President Harris and without hurting her, and they can vote for me if they like President Trump without hurting him, because we already know what's going to happen in those states.
Yes.
So
all the more reason that you should have what Tony Fauci has and what Mike Pompeo has, and a lot of other, by the way, non-current federal employees have, which is government bodyguards. But they withdrew them immediately from you. So what's the message of that?
Well, the message, I think, is a bad message, which is that our federal enforcement agencies have been weaponized against the American people. I mean, again, weaponized politically, not against the American people, but politically. When my father took office in the Justice Department, and my father was appointed a U.S. Attorney General in 1961 by my uncle, his brother. And my father, the first week in office, he had run my uncle's campaign, so he was a political guy. He called together all the division chairs, all the branch chiefs in the DOJ, and he made us into his big cavernous office. And he said to them, we're going to make one rule here, which is there is no politics. We never ask whether a potential defendant is Democrat or Republican. The people of this country have to know that their enforcement institutions, the Department of Justice, are the justice is blind here. We are free of any kind of political prejudice or bias or favoritism. And they started putting in jail. He prosecuted my uncle on my mother's side for antitrust violation. He prosecuted friends of his father's, whose father did not want him to prosecute. And they just said, it doesn't matter. We've got to apply it even-handedly, because the American people need to understand that their institutions are free. We need to respect them and know that they're not biased in one way. And we're losing that now in our country. And the Biden administration has really accelerated that. The most shocking thing to me, and Democrats can't even hear this story because it touches so many sort of culture war buttons, but it's a true story. People need to understand it and appreciate it. In the 2020 election, when there was Hunter Biden's laptop a week before and we only know this whole story recently because of a release of documents. But when President Biden's Hunter Biden's laptop suddenly became an issue about a week before the debate, and Anthony Blinken, who is now the Secretary of State, and who was then the director of President Biden's campaign, went to Gina Haspel, who is the head of this director of the CIA, and said to her, "We need help with this." She then got 51 CIA, current and former CIA officers to sign a public letter, which they published, I think, in the New York Times, but they published it somewhere, that said that Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian hoax that was part of a Russian disinformation effort to tamper with the presidential election campaign. So you had the CIA, which is forbidden by its charter from involving itself in any American politics, and you had 51 top officers, former and current, who now do a disinformation campaign against the American public to tamper with the election, while accusing the Russians of tampering with the election. And then a week later, President Biden, when he's asked about the laptop on the debate, he says that has been debunked by the CIA, by the CIA officers. And that was the end of the issue, because it was debunked. All the newspapers picked that up. And it's highly likely that that had an impact on the election. So, that was the entree of President Biden getting into office. And again, Democrats who hear me say this story are going to say, "Oh, he's just saying that because, he's a Republican now, right?" Which I'm not, but that's what they're going to say. But it's not that. It's just that this was wrong.